Good evening, everyone. Time for this week's silver update. I have drawn out a chart with lows in the MACD. I've drawn lines up, and I've drawn the current trend line. You can see we've got a number of lows on here going all the way back to November, but the three significant ones I'm pointing out here are the low we just put in, this low back in February, and this low back in January. Actually starting there, but rallying from that point. So we are back now, reset into negative territory on the MACD. We're now crossing over to the upside. But the time it took us to do that, it just took us this little section of time here to completely reset. We had a huge snapback rally. For those of you that were listening to me, you might have been able to get in at 34 or around there. I was expecting maybe more of a violent sell-off than that. That snapback rally took me by surprise. I think it took everyone by surprise with the violence in which it snapped back. You can see on this one it snapped back pretty strongly, and this one snapped back pretty strongly as well. So the sell-offs that we're getting, they're becoming more and more brief, and the rally to the other side is really violent. So we've now got, if we look at this low that we had here, this low set us for a run of a month. This one did too, roughly. So 1 or 2 days of down and a month of gains. That's the strength of this market that we're looking at here. And I think we're going into new highs. I thought that I might have been wrong on my call for 50, that we're going straight to 50. I'm not going to say I was wrong on that one because it looks like we are. I think we're going to go straight to 50 once we get through here. I think it's going to go with incredible strength. Something similar to this. You can see once we went through this low and snapped back, then we just had a consistent run from about 28 all the way to a spike of 34. Let's just say 28 to 34. So 28 to 34, $6. 6 goes into 28, roughly 4. Let's just say 5 times. So that's a 20% run. A 20% run from here would be 10% is 3.6. It'd be about a $7.50, say $8 run. So that would take us to 44, and I think momentum would probably carry us the rest of the way to 50. I think it's going to have a real violent reaction when it tests the nominal high. Not that those things really mean anything as far as support and resistance are concerned, because honestly, who's been holding silver since 1979 at a loss waiting to sell it? I don't think that resistance really means much, but it is a technical point that a lot of traders are going to view. So when we do get to that 48 to 50 range, expect to see some real violent moves, perhaps $10 or $15 in either direction, or maybe even $20 or $30 in either direction. We're going to see some real violent moves when we get there. So you got to strap in and hang on for the ride. I'm going to move in a little bit. You can see how violent this ride was here. We've got a breakout this evening. We closed around in here, around 35.90, and we ran very quickly to 36.50. I don't know what relation this has with the news from Japan. I'm gonna speak to that in just a little bit, but it definitely is a powerful move that we're on, and I think it's just a matter of time until we're back into new highs. Speaking of the earthquake, a lot of times when I'm trying to diagnose a move in the currencies or any of the other charts, currencies are especially difficult. Let's go right to the Japanese yen. Now we need to pull out a little bit here to the 5-minute. Now the news of the earthquake and tsunami came to us the 11th, right about here. If you'll notice, we had a fairly strong rally in the dollar against the yen. Possibly speculation that I'm not really sure. Maybe this is all counterintuitive. Perhaps the speculation here was that the damage wasn't that great, and this is a realization that the damage was much worse than we thought. Now you would say, why would that be the case? Wouldn't it be that if the damage in Japan is tremendous, then that would weaken the yen? That means we would go up against the yen in the dollar? Well, that would be your first assumption. But you have to remember that Japan holds approximately $1 trillion in U.S. Treasury notes, possibly even more. So if the damage were tremendous and Japan had to raise a tremendous amount of money, the speculation now is $100 billion. I think it's much higher than 100, or no, I think it was today, it was $10 billion. I don't think we're getting any of the real news at this point. The first figures we had were a few hundred dead. We're now to 10,000 dead. I think the damage in Japan is incalculable. At this point, it's incalculable. I think it will probably reach $500 billion to $1 trillion. A significant chunk of those treasuries that they're holding are going to have to go. So is that what this is? It seems to be an indication. Now, again, you have to remember that all currencies are cross rates. This chart is a US dollar, Japanese yen. All currencies are valued in terms of each other. So when you say, well, the dollar's falling, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because the dollar, if you want to look, for example, we can go to the dollar itself. The US dollar index. Now this is a basket. It is falling. But this is a basket of currencies. In other words, when you say the US dollar index is falling, what you're actually saying is the US dollar is falling in 5 or 6 or 7 different currencies, and it might be going up in some and going down in others. It doesn't make a lot of sense to talk about indexes when you're talking about currencies. So when you want to gauge the reaction, where the action is occurring, you need to do individual currency cross comparisons. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So our first look, let's stay on the same chart. We're looking at roughly 1 to 3 p.m. on Friday. The news comes out. We have a small rally in the dollar yen, and then we have a collapse in the dollar yen. So the dollar collapses against the yen after the news comes out. Let's take our euro dollar cross. Now you have to remember that this one is the opposite. This is euro US dollar, rather we had US dollar yen. So if this is going up, that means the dollar is going down. So we did lose, the dollar did lose against the euro, not nearly as violently as against the yen. Now one would think, okay, is this a dollar move? Is this a yen move? Is this a euro move? So you can check other things. For example, you could check another cross that's not the US dollar. We could check, well, we could check the British pound versus Japanese yen. Okay, we can see here the pound is losing significantly against the yen as well as the dollar. Let's go back and compare real quick. About the same. So it seems to be, the action seems to be located in the pound and the dollar versus the yen. Let's compare the Australian dollar versus the yen. Now, we did get a sell-off, but it wasn't nearly as steep, and we're getting a rally, and the rally is stronger. So the selling of the yen seems to be more concentrated in the countries. The buying of the yen seems to be more concentrated in the countries of America and Britain. New Zealand dollar against the yen. Here's a euro yen cross. Weak, but not as weak as the United States. So let's do some crosses that have nothing to do with the yen whatsoever. Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. Not a lot of movement there. We've got, what would give us more information? Here's an Australian Canadian dollar cross. Some movement, not significant. Here's a Swiss franc Japanese yen cross. So I think the takeaway from this that I would get is that Japan is going to be selling a lot of bonds. They're going to be selling a lot of paper, regardless of where it's denominated. And this may go the other direction, but right now it seems to be the concern is not for the long-term health of the Japanese economy, but the concern of Japan dumping a large amount of its treasuries. We seem to have an intervention here. Now the other thing I wanted to point out is that this is actually, while this is occurring, we're actually at a key technical point for the dollar yen. Let me take you out quite a bit. You can see this dive here actually got below this technical point, and you'd say, well, that's pretty significant. You go out farther and you can see we got this technical point here, 80.25. So that's pretty significant. We keep going out and you can see we've been fighting against this, and you'd think this was a new low here, which is at 80.16. So let's just say 80 on the dollar yen. But when we go all the way out, we can see way back here, 1995, we actually have support at about 80 point. Let's draw this one exactly and try to lock it in here. At about 80 point, is it 33? There it is. Okay, so we're looking at 16 year support that the dollar is attempting to cross through. Quite ironic that we would have this level of destruction in Japan, which may actually end up triggering the collapse of the dollar against the yen. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know what it all means. I can just speculate. But it appears that Japan is going to be dumping a large number of treasuries, not just ours, to begin to do the repair of this tremendous, horrific damage. So we're going to watch silver tonight. 36.60, is that our key point? We're looking at 36. There it is, 36, about 72. 36, let's just say 36.75, that's our key point. We need to get through. We're about 50 cents away from it. If we get through there, which we may get through there tonight or sometime tomorrow morning, I think we're going to be off to the races. And we'll be running to 50. Now, I wanted to cover a couple of things. I mentioned before that my last purchase was at Gainesville Coins. The last time I was there, in fact, silver was at, it was a pullback of 25, and that was when I bought my Tigers and some others. I bought some of these and some of these, but I just want to point these out. I don't think that, I think there's a good chance that you may never see these coins again. 1 ounce coins out of Perth Mint. There's a possibility. I mean, it's kind of a long shot, but there's a possibility that we just might not see any coins out of Perth at all in the future. I don't know if you knew this, but coins out of Perth Mint are out on a subscription basis. They actually mint their coins from pre-order, so they don't just go and mint up a million coins and hope people buy them. They actually mint them based on what people have ordered ahead of time. So obviously Gainesville, I know Amex does. I don't think Amex has any significant Perth coins left. Maybe some of the 2011s, but I'm really impressed with these. I don't know why I can't say. You can get them for $40. You're gonna have to bank wire, but $40 for this coin. You can get a box of koalas. These come in 5 rolls. They're plastic sealed. They're all in individual. This is the roll. Each one of these coins comes in its own plastic. It makes for you can handle them and look at them, but without getting thumbprints on them. It makes it a lot easier to sell them. If you're going to sell them on eBay, they're already got their plastic container. So I really like these coins. I think that $40 for these coins is an incredible deal. I think with silver pushing through 36 heading to 37, I think you could jump through 40 without any problem. And I don't see, yeah, the koalas, I've always liked the koalas. So here's your koalas here. You can get them for $40. And if anybody knows, I went here, I wanted to compare my tigers and try to find the tigers. I can't find the tigers for sale anywhere. There's a couple left at Amex. They're selling for $49. I don't really know of any other sources. If any of you know any sources for Perth Mint coins in bulk, I'd appreciate it if you'd link it. And the last thing I wanted to look at is eBay, because I like to follow eBay just to see what things are going for. Here's the half ounce. I don't see those on. They used to have them at Gainesville. You can see though they're going for $35. The half ounce are going for $35. Here's 2011. This is one we were just looking at. This just sold for $49, free shipping. So there's a $9 gain on that one. This one, fantastic. I can't believe someone got this buy. The 2007 koala. I don't have a lot of these, but these are extremely rare. I've seen these go for actually $90 a piece. Someone lucked out there and got that. It was 13 bids. They got it for $48. Here's 2 of the 2008s. Those are extremely rare as well. And someone lucked out there and got those for $45 a piece. So you can see here's a 2010 that went for $44.60 plus shipping. So it's not like you're going to turn around and sell them right away, but it is nice to be able to comfortably lock in a $5 profit on a 1 ounce coin. Now this is plus shipping. There's one that went for $42.80. So it's hit and miss in the pricing on these. These are the ones I've got quite a few of, the 2009s. We're talking $45. I think they're $49 on Amex. So it's fun, but if any of you do see any place online that's got a large number of the koalas or any of the Perth 1 ounce coins, I'd really appreciate if you'd link the site, because I just can't find any others. And I think that these coins are going to be a collector's item, because they're simply not going to. I don't think Perth is going to make too many more of these. I think that when silver starts to really run, well, we're taking a big drop here. When silver really starts to run, I think that we may start to see not necessarily a nationalization of the mines, but we will see countries begin to be more and more reluctant to export their silver so that foreigners can buy their national resource. And so pretty soon, probably within the next year or two, I'm expecting the bullion coins from the national mints to stop being made, and we'll just see kind of a black market start up for those. That's just my guess. I think maybe silver will be around $50 to $75, maybe $75 to $100 at that time, when the governments of the world finally decide it's not worth it to sell off their silver. They need to protect and keep whatever they have for when the currency reset comes. So we're watching the price. We're looking for a break above 36.75, looking for a move to 40 and then to 50, and we'll talk to you next time.